Alrighty, let's talk about Fantastic Four. So I saw it yesterday, Sunday, and I really like the movie a lot. One of the most interesting things that they did with Fantastic Four is how they sort of just got rid of like the whole origin story altogether. Essentially, they just summed it up within 5 to 10 minutes of what happened to them in a very like 60s news documented sort of way. So we don't have to do the whole they were in a spaceship, there was a cosmic accident, and yeah, that's how they got their powers. We kind of just got the entire origin story within a 5 to 10 minute recap. Um, Very interesting that they went with Sue being pregnant with Franklin Richards. I'll get to that a little bit later. But overall, I thought the movie was a fantastic movie. Probably one of the best comic book films since Endgame. Just truly a great story. I was a little bit worried about Pedro Pascal being Reed Richards, but boy, was I wrong about Pedro Pascal being Reed Richards. He killed it as Reed Richards. Uh, the actors for Johnny, great. For Sue, great. Thing, great. Um, it was quite interesting how they really did well with the whole family dynamic. You know, one of the key things about Fantastic Four is they don't really have really the greatest powers. You know, that the powers are not really that interesting. Probably except for Sue. Sue has the best powers of the four, um, or the most potential of the four, and most powerful. I think if she was Reed Richards smart, I think she's beating everybody easy of the four. Um, and even if she's not, I think she can still do it. Um, and so I kind of like that the film was sort of really heavily focused on Sue, giving her time to shine. Like she's not just this mother figure for the team, but she's also a capable leader. You know, they still look to Reed for the intelligence and the plans and the ideas, but like every person was able to contribute as a collective, and I think that was really well done with the Fantastic Four. You know, it's not so much about their powers, but it's how much they can communicate and work together and be able to solve problems as a family, as a unit, as a group. And I think the film really did that correct. I thought the story was quite interesting with the way they chose how to do Galactus and Silver Surfer. Now, I was a little bit nervous how they were going to do Silver Surfer. Um, I'm a big believer of just sort of like tradition and just using uh, the traditional Silver Surfer, Norrin Rad. Um, but Shala Ball's story is quite almost literally the same as Norrin Rad, and it really worked well with how they did the story here. Um, what did I like? The visual effects was amazing for Silver Surfer and Galactus. Like he wasn't just like a space cloud, but you know, he looked machinery, scary. Silver Surfer was scary. She had some of the dopest like introductions to uh like a villain entrance per se, and it was just well done. I wish there was a little bit more action in this film. We didn't get enough action, but I'm gonna be honest, the way the story was written just allowed it to be so captivating. Like I never felt bored in the film um, at all. Really, I was just, this story's really engaging. Them trying to find out who Galactus is, how to get to him, um, how to beat him, and they realize part of the people, a lot of complaints was like, well, you know, like how they beat Galactus, you know, it wasn't really all that, it wasn't really climactic, you know. I would just say that, you know, they didn't really beat Galactus. All they did was just transport him to another universe. And like Galactus is a character that is going to be really just hard to beat in general, and they were able to really figure out a smart way how to beat him. Like, hey, you can't really beat him. You know, again, they're not all that powerful, but they were able to just use their smarts, use their wits to be able to beat him. I think of the group, Invisible Woman, Sue Storm got the best character development. Reed had a great character development too. You know, how do we solve this problem of Galactus eating worlds? The parallels between Sue and Silver Surfer were great. They both were in that same situation, like their world is about to be destroyed. But Silver Surfer chose to give up herself to save her planet out of the expense of other planets. And Sue was willing to give up herself, but not out of the expense of her child and her planet. And so it was either we solve this together as a unit, or we all die trying. And I really liked the parallels between the two. I really like how they made all the characters sort of smart. You know, part of Johnny's mainstream perception is that he is not so smart. He's just this hotshot who's into girls, which is, you know, not necessarily wrong, but um, he is an astronaut. So you got to be at least somewhat educated and smart to be able to solve problems while you're in space. And so I really like that. Um, I really just like that he was really smart in this film. Not Reed Richards smart, but like, oh, here's what's going on. Oh, I heard this language. I want to figure out what it's really saying. And he's really just actually putting his brain to use in this film. And I really like that. I wish Thing got a little bit more development. You kind of see hints of it. But overall, I think Thing was just well done. Silver Surfer, well done. Galactus, well done. Um, and I have no complaints about this film. It's a visual masterpiece. It's filmed very, very well. It felt very sci-fi, space fantasy, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. Maybe not so much fantasy, but very sci-fi, and I like that a lot. What does it mean for the MCU as a whole? I don't know. That end credits with Doctor Doom at the end was quite interesting. Um, let's talk about Franklin Richards, because Franklin Richards is kind of like the whole center of this film. Um, you know, he has the power to shape universes. He can't create it, but he can shape it and create the ideas for the universes. And I really interesting that Galactus was going to use him as a successor, and I really liked that. You know, they were using him as kind of like the basis for the conflict. We either use him to try to per se destroy the world, like he's going to be the reason why Earth gets destroyed or not. And that was really cool to see Galactus being motivated other than hunger, right? He is motivated by hunger for other planets, but it was really good to see that um, that he's like, I have a way out, and it adds a little bit more layers to Galactus than other than that he's just the Snorlax of the Marvel universe, um, and I really like that a lot. Um, Other than that, this film is really like a 10 out of 10 for me. Probably the best movie since Endgame. I'm gonna be honest with you. Just best comic book film since Endgame. I know we have some contenders with Deadpool, Wolverine, Spider-Man No Way Home. And I'm gonna be honest, a lot of those films kind of rely a little bit on nostalgia to carry it. And I really enjoyed those films a lot. But just as a comic book film, the action that was presented was great. I wish there was a little bit more. If anything, maybe a 9.5 out of 10, just for a little bit more action. But like the story is so engaging. Them using their smarts, using the theme of family was very well done. And you know, it was quite interesting between Superman and Fantastic Four. The the scenes that I really liked both from those films was just kind of like the most vulnerable film, the parts of the film. So for me, my favorite scene of Superman is Clark and Lois having that argument as a couple, showing that vulnerability as both a super level being, but also like his human side as well. And then you have the vulnerable moment of Sue where she brings out her baby and kind of just saying, "Hey, like, I know we're all scared, and I know I'm scared, but I can't give up this world for my child, and I can't give up my child for, for this world as well. Like, she can't sacrifice both. It's going to be all together, you know? If she gives up her child, she can't do it as a mother, and she can't give up this world because the world needs her child. Her child needs the world too. So, just those vulnerable parts of the film, I really enjoyed, and I hope that comic book films learn how to balance the seriousness and the jokiness because there is some jokiness in Fantastic Four, but it's really between Johnny and Thing, and it works so well. I was really surprised on how serious this Fantastic Four film was. And that being said, it just balanced it well between seriousness and jokiness, and in a lot more seriousness, and I like that a lot. And I wish comic book films can really go back to those roots um, of being serious but balancing the jokes. So is Fantastic Four an honest movie? It's an honest movie.